better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, ah, I'll have what she's having.
So I saw Baby Girl again and
A movie so nice you had to tap it twice. Come on.
had to tap it twice. I don't think I can ever find that man hot again because I realized that he sounds like cousin Greg from Succession.
What? Okay. I know exactly what you're saying, and I know exactly why it might, in fact, give you the ick. Yeah.
The total ick. And I was like, oh no. And so I just watched Antonio Banderas the whole time.
It's a pretty good call. Hey, Paige, do you want to do an episode on Grease too?
Yes! Everything's on fire and this is my only joy.
Literally everything's on fire. For you.
Yeah, for me.
For me, it's literally gonna snow more than it's snowed in like a generation. So it's like we're getting either sides of it.
Either sides of the global warming.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
And I'm Todd Schlosser, and this week, Paige made us watch, thankfully, Grease 2!
Been a long time coming.
It has. You're right. But Paige,
Yes.
can you tell me the first time you saw Grease 2?
I was a child-ass child.
And you had better parents than me, because this is the first time I'd seen it.
You've seen the original, the Grease.
So many times, but
Yes,
everyone
okay.
told me that this one was bad.
It is bad.
No, come on. If you had told me that Grease 2 was more or less like a gender-reversed Grease 1, sure, but also Superman? Like, what? This is a superhero movie, like, tucked inside a musical that's all set in, like, Bobby Soxer's 60s, so, like, early 60s. How do you not love that?
Early 60s. Yeah, 2 years after the original.
This is amazing.
I mean, here's what I'm going to say to you right now.
Say it.
Is it catchy and watchable and did I have a good time today? Yes.
Yes.
It is on the fun spectrum of movies.
Yes.
It's not on the good spectrum at all, but that's okay. But it's fun because it's so bad, kind of like Showgirls. It's great, which I got to watch a friend watch Showgirls for the first time this week, and they were mystified by its wonderment. And so, like, yes, it's like that. I saw this. One of my grandmother's favorite movies of all time was the original Grease.
I mean, yeah. Her and many, many other people of her generation.
Many,
it's a
many
great
other
movie.
people.
I love Grease.
And so we used to watch it at her house, and my mom didn't want us to watch it at her house because, spoiler, if you watch Grease as an adult, you're like, oh my God, there's like an abortion and like a whole bunch of shit in this movie.
Yep.
Like,
It's great.
It is dark. Grease is dark. But as kids, we had no idea. And I remember my grandma being like, they don't understand. Who cares? They just like the songs. And my grandma also insisted, despite there definitely being like a 10-year gap, that she went to high school around the time that the original Grease is set. And I think she went to high school 10, 15 years before that.
Okay.
Where I don't question. She also thought Johnny Mathis, no, she insisted that Johnny Mathis was straight. And when I told her that I thought Liberace was gay, she said, no, he's an entertainer, which I think is just 50s for gay.
It could also be both, Grandma.
It could be both, Grandma.
It could be both. It wouldn't be the first gay man who was an entertainer at all.
Right. Grandma had some conflicting beliefs. So because of that.
As grandmas often do, Paige.
As grandmas often do. My sister and I watched Grease at her house all the time. And so I'm not 100% sure if we saw this at Blockbuster first and rented it because we were like, we love Grease, ergo Grease 2, or if we found it in a bargain bin somewhere. But I do know that we were old enough when we saw this to watch it and be like, this is terrible. Like, as children, to be like, it's catchy, but it's bad. But at the same time, it was so funny that we like got the soundtrack and we watched it all the time. And so this is like a childhood movie for me. I have owned the soundtrack many a time. I think you should. I think it's catchy. I think it's bonkers. I feel the same way about this that I feel about Cats. And I mean that earnestly.
Meow. How? That is so mean.
Cats is so crazy.
Cats is not even a musical.
Well, but that's the thing. It's like this barely holds together too. But Cats is so crazy, it becomes fun because you're laughing at it and you're like, can you believe people spent money on this to make this movie? I can't believe that she's got human hands. Like,
Oh, I'd watch the Cats movie, especially with the butthole cut that I've heard is out there somewhere.
I
know. I want to watch that like I watch the Faces of Death VHSs, just like in my friend's basement under a blanket. Like, that's how I should watch the butthole cut of Cats.
That's the only way to watch Faces of Death for sure. But yeah, so this was like a childhood. So like if I started singing Cool Rider to my sister at any point, she could finish it. Like this is one of our movies.
I love that though. That's awesome.
Despite us the entire time saying it was bad. But yeah, we watched this a fuckload as children.
For my family, for a lot of the sisters in the family, it was literally Sisters from White Christmas. They would sing that back and forth.
We did that at karaoke at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's one of those too. And Natalie and her sister is sort of the same. In fact, Natalie's sister got Natalie a mug that actually has the two women from it on it. It's great. It's really cute, but it's got the same hair colors that they have. So it's like got red hair and blonde hair. It's cute.
Oh, see, I want the Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye one where they're like half dressed up in it. And they're like, sister?
Love that. Yeah.
Love.
White Christmas was great. Mikey was wrong. Anyway.
Mikey was wrong.
Paige, this is my first time seeing this movie, and I was both blown away and #loved it because it is, like I said, Superman. It's the first Superman movie.
It's nuts.
Except instead of getting a job at the Daily Planet, Clark Kent goes to high school.
Right.
And like, he's British or whatever.
It's the better Smallville, sure.
Paige, he flies in this movie. He is the only one who can make these jumps. Literally fly. There's a song about it.
Who's that guy?
You're going to tell me he's not Superman? Come on.
I'm not going to tell you anything of the sort because he also has an alter ego that is just goggles. So it's kind of Clark Kentian.
It's helmet and goggles. Paige, when he is making out with Michelle Pfeiffer and he has not removed his helmet, I get that they're on the motorcycle, but they're not riding the motorcycle.
Right.
If you're making out with the helmet on, I am only going to assume that the helmet is for a medical purpose. Like you're missing your scalp somewhere. Like there's a hole in your skull and you're trying to cover it with this.
She doesn't know his name. She doesn't know what the top half of his face looks like.
She doesn't know his name? What? His name is Cool. Last name Ryder. All right?
Cool
That's all she
Rider.
needs to know.
How catchy is that song though? Like Cool Rider is going to be stuck in my head all day.
Paige, it was so catchy in the moment when they spontaneously sang it outside the bowling alley.
Yes.
Somebody called the cops.
Yeah, they were like, there's too much catchiness out here.
I love that you never see a cop in that scene at all. You only hear the sirens.
You see one.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, you see one.
I must have missed it because I was taking notes. But like in my mind, because I missed it, I was like, oh, they were just like lost on how to make Michael be able to like, I don't know, motorcycle ride, fight, dance away the rival greaser gang?
And they don't fight ever.
What?
There's 2 motorcycle fights in this movie and they just ride in circles. That's all they do. But no, he jumps that cop car and one of the cops gets out of the cop car and is like, whoa.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. What I meant was like the cops aren't showing up to break up the fight. Like they don't even care. But like they had to put like over the music for the song, they had to put like sirens, like the police were coming so that there was a reason for the rival gang to leave. Because why would they have left? Like, oh, cool. You can also do wheelies. Awesome. Like they're in no danger at all.
Right. Right.
Honestly, the biggest danger they're in is simply what they're writing.
Honestly, yes.
I love it.
And shirtless a lot as well.
Paige, as someone who's been on stage with a leather jacket and no shirt, rude. I have rocked that look and honestly looked as bad as they did tonight when I watched this movie. But I'd do it again. I honestly, okay, you're right. This movie isn't great.
No.
But it is really fun. It's like campy and silly and fun. The songs aren't nearly as good as the original Grease. Like I love the original Grease's music. Some of the songs in this are catchy though, but this one's got Sid Caesar as well.
Yes.
And like, I can't hate it for that, you know? He's like the Lorne Michaels of the 50s. Love that guy.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean, with the show of shows and then like his comedy hour thing, like the show of shows was, or your show of shows, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
It was a 90-minute live sketch music variety show.
Yes.
Tell me that's not SNL now. And it like launched Carl Reiner, Mel Brooks, like comedy, Neil Simon, like comedy legends of the like next era were birthed on his show because of Sid Caesar.
Yeah, I would say that and the Carol Burnett show.
True. I mean, which was also sort of around the same time, right?
It's the same time, yeah.
Man, Carol Burnett was, God, she was very funny. She was awesome. Anyway, I love this show. I love the time period. I think it's wild that like this is the America that Republicans want to bring us back to when America was, quote, great, when even the poor could afford a motorcycle. So like, I thought it was very funny that even like the poor kids in school were like, well, I'm still going to ride my $7,000 motorcycle around. Because like, I had a motorcycle for a long time. I love motorcycles.
Sure.
I don't ride them now because people who drive cars are insane. So like, I don't want to ride next to them. So I got rid of my bike.
Sure.
But I actually knew the kind of bike they used in this movie. And I looked up how much it cost back when they actually like, when the movie takes place.
61, yeah.
Yeah. A brand new one would have cost $700 to $800.
Okay.
Which is right around $7,200 today. I still think he could have made enough money to get it doing papers because
I think so too.
it very clearly shows he buys it from like a junkyard more or less.
Right.
And fixes it up over the year. So he did not pay $7,000 for that. He might have paid $500 or $600 in $61, you know?
Right.
Because it was like a junker he had to fix.
We know that he's doing like, it's like $5 an assignment is what we see people paying him, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like depending on how much he was doing or if he was charging more for other people plus other money he had, like that adds up pretty fast, I would say, in 50s money. So,
and this is like pre-Chat GPT, so he was really writing those papers.
He was actually writing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like had to.
Yeah. It's Maxwell Caulfield, like Max GPT.
Chat MAX page. Thank you very much.
There you go.
By the way, $5 per paper is $52 today.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No.
Not bad.
That's not bad at all, considering, like, I mean, he's writing, like, full-on reports. I used to get paid, like, $50 a script for coverage back in the day. So, like, yeah, that honestly, that sounds kind of fair.
Yeah.
Sounds fair to me.
I mean, it would probably take me more than an hour to write a paper for somebody, but, you know.
Sure. But there are other jobs that you could do that I would be bad at. So there you go.
Name 6.
Drumming.
Okay, fair. We got one. We got one.
You got one. Yeah. Name 6.
I'm in a silly mood and I will not apologize for it, Paige.
Hey, my entire city's on fire and my brain is full of this movie. Let's go.
My entire city's being currently covered in ice. So, like, we're just either sides of a George R.R. Martin story that will never be finished.
Indeed.
That was a joke for my brother Brandon. And I love you.
You're never going to get to read that book, man.
I'm so sorry. I also want to know how it ends, but he's gonna die.
He doesn't know the ending, and he's just banking on dying before people keep asking questions.
I mean, everyone's asking questions, but he is not trying to live like that CEO who sold all of his like company and now is like trying to live forever.
Oh God, that documentary.
Natalie and I were watching it tonight and I paused it, we paused it so we could watch it later after this.
First and foremost, I gotta say
it.
I understand that death is unpleasant, but it is a part of life and part of what makes life so beautiful. And if you spend your entire life just trying not to die, you're not really living. And second, that man has a severe eating disorder. Severe. Oh my God.
First off, disagree with the first, but also agree with the second. That dude's got like body image issues and he is really into fitness and healthy eating or whatever.
But that's all he does.
I know. That's what I mean. Like, that's all he cares about. And also, as someone who has found a way to monetize his favorite hobby,
sure,
I respect the hustle of turning your interest into a job.
Into money, sure.
I think he's insane, but like, listen, there are way worse software CEOs out there, you know?
Oh, sure.
Like, this guy is just a rich dude who is eccentric and spending his money in a very crazy way. And that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm content to let him keep doing him. I just would never do that because I feel like he's so focused on de-aging that he doesn't live a life at all. He just
Exactly.
does. It sounds horrible. He sounds so lonely and sad, and I don't like it.
I wanted one person who was doing the interviews to be like, when was the last time you like went to Disneyland or like did anything other than this?
When was the last time you ate cheese and didn't beat yourself up about it? Right?
I've never beat myself up about
Right?
a little brie. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, me never. And
No.
here's I get that it's a spectrum and there's probably a happy medium, but I was like, oof, magoof, my guy. This is, oh no. I am curious about swapping blood with people, though. That I don't fault him at all, because that seems like it didn't harm nobody. You just got to sit in a chair for a bit. And if it works, why not?
Paige, I'd be your blood boy.
Oh, thank you.
I also want to say at the end of this movie, Michelle fully has a delusion that she is singing a duet with Mr. Cool / Writer in what looks like motorcycle heaven. And that motorcycle heaven is just a like tower or mound, if you will. Say it, a boob.
Of silver motorcycles.
Of motorcycles, crashed motorcycles, Paige.
Yes.
Spray painted like white / silver. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah. Remember, I love you.
Yes.
I'm always right. Yeah, it's
Paige,
ridiculous.
It's crazy. When she's like walking out on stage, catatonic or whatever, and then they pull the star away from her, I was so in it. Paige. I audibly gasped. I was like, Natalie went like, I don't know if she looked over, but if she heard me, she would have been like, what? But I like legit was like, oh, what happened? And then when it shows that she's still holding the star and the whole thing was a delusion.
But she's been singing on stage a cappella the whole time, a song that no one knows.
She wins with that
And she fucking
a
wins.
cappella performance, Paige. Insanity.
I'm telling you. It's great. It's bonkers T to B.
I know. When it cuts back to her and she is hugging the star, I was like, she is hugging that star like she thinks a dingo's gonna eat it. Like, that is insane.
Can I tell you that
Please.
every Christmas, I'm like, this is the year. This is the year I'm going to make the Grease 2 Christmas dress and wear it somewhere.
Paige.
And one of these years I will do it, because I feel like that crazy Christmas tree hoop dress is both gaudy and awful and fabulous at the same time. And it's one of those things that like you'd wear it to a party and most people would be like, weird dress, but then one person would be like, cool writer, and you'd be like, yes.
Well, Paige, let me just let you know a little bit more about who my wife is, although you already know her really well.
I know her pretty well.
When
yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer walked out in that dress, she said immediately, I want that dress.
Right?
Yeah. So she would have been the girl at the party who was like,
I want the silver luau dress as well, which I didn't notice until this viewing, because when we watch stuff for the show, it's different than like watching it normally. But on this viewing, I noticed that the principal mispronounces the luau 3 different ways.
oh, does he? I didn't recognize that because it's gibberish to me.
It's
but
nonsense. It is absolutely the cultural appropriation that would be happening at the time.
yeah, it's like look at Lou, look at yay. It's like so dumb. It's like crazy
Yes.
bad. Yeah.
It's super bad. None of it is anything authentic. It is all cellophane and nonsense. But like, when I was listening, I was like, she mentioned it and I was like, oh, I forgot there's a luau at the end of this movie. And then she calls it 3 different things through the movie. There's that. They clearly didn't have enough male dancers. So some guys play 3 different background roles.
Love it.
Sometimes you'll see one of them dance out of one scene and into another in a different jacket. And I find that hilarious. There's so much in this movie that they just like bumbled their way through that makes me laugh so hard. But this has one of those movie things where they have like all the photos at the end and everything. Anytime you see a ton of bloopers on a movie, it means that they had so much fun making the movie, they didn't realize it was going bad. And that is absolutely the case on this movie as well.
Well, at the end when they're like running and jumping and it's like freeze framing it, and I was like, oh,
Yes.
they didn't know the turd they were laying while they were
didn't
doing
know.
this. Yeah.
They had
But like
no
honestly,
idea.
I love the earnest attempt at something not awesome, but still super fun. Like it is fun. I did sort of enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, it is incredibly fun. I had fun watching it today. It was way better than watching my neighborhood burn down. And so, like, I needed this. And I had forgotten how catchy some of the songs were, but then also how fucking cringe some of the songs were. We're like, This movie exclusively has songs that you're like, this shouldn't be good, but why is it stuck in my head?
Cool Rider is that song for me. It's still in my head. Yes, I agree.
Cool Rider is that song, but also the bowling one gets stuck in my head all the time. We want to score tonight. Like, it just stuck.
That's the one where Johnny like jumps and slides down the bowling lane and does that really high note. That's me.
Yes.
You know, I've been to karaoke with you. That's me all the way.
Incredible. But then there's also songs like Reproduction, and you're like, I'm glad this is in this movie. This is absolutely a fever dream made of cocaine,
Paige,
but it's making my skin crawl.
It was so funny though. Like it's such a funny like premise.
It's bad in such crazy ways.
Yeah, but like you, at that point, I immediately knew why the teacher in the first time you see the opening, like the school announcements, I completely got why that teacher decided just to die instead of teach that class and have to sing that song.
He lives.
Wait, does he?
Yes, because like 2 scenes later, you see him over at the punch table, and then he just faints and passes out underneath it.
I thought that was the reason the other guy had to come in as a substitute teacher.
It absolutely is.
So the guy who is currently being replaced by the sub is still lurking about the place. Paige, you saw a ghost.
He comes to the luau at the end.
Yeah, he haunts the luau, maybe. Yeah. That guy died in the opening credits. Not credits, but the opening announcements.
No, the only reason I know is because she is like walking him around the luau. She's like, you're right. It's so nice for you to be out of the hospital again. The school environment's great for you. And then he literally tries to drown himself in the pool. And we never see anyone rescue him. But then we cut to like 2 scenes later, and he's at the punch bowl just like double fisting punch. And he's like, the motorcycles ride by and he's like, ugh, and passes out on that table.
Yeah, because he's a ghost.
Yep.
And
he's a ghost.
He like floated away or whatever.
Whoa.
Paige, I actually have a sort of a serious question about Max Caulfield as a person.
Maxwell Caulfield.
Yeah,
sure.
Maxwell. We call him Max.
Rex Manning. The guy from Merry Gentlemen. Yes.
Rex Manning. So happy Rex Manning Day or whatever.
Sure.
So if you were Max Caulfield.
Sure.
And you were in this movie. And 2 years later, another movie came out that said the same line you delivered in a moment that should have been a pretty big moment, but like way surpassed it and like became a huge pop culture thing forever. To this day, is still a pop culture thing. How pissed would you be? That would be my villain origin story. You would find me at a bar in the corner drinking, wishing I could find Arnold Schwarzenegger so I could kick his ass for stealing I'll Be Back. Like that could have, that was such a cool moment in this movie, and it beat Terminator by 2 years.
I didn't realize that this happened first.
James Cameron was like, oh, that line would have been so much better if it was delivered by a killing machine.
Oh, that's great.
Instead of a guy who can dance fight on a motorcycle.
Just by driving around in circles. I'd be pissed.
Yeah,
I'd be pissed.
So mad.
I'd be pissed. And like he's had a weird career too.
Also, I would be pissed at Tom Cruise because Goose is in this movie.
Sure.
And Goose, as a side character, became way more famous in 85 during Top Gun.
Well, Tom Cruise was almost the lead in this movie, to burn a fun fact. Or actually, I guess he would have played Johnny. They considered him for Johnny, but they wanted somebody taller.
Oh my God. Wait, and they settled on Johnny?
Yes.
Johnny's 5'7", maybe.
Well, but he had also played Danny in the original Grease on Broadway.
Okay.
So I think that's why. But at the same time, they're like the notes on Fun Facts were like they wanted somebody manlier and taller
than Tom Cruise at the time.
Like,
that's so funny. I mean, I actually kind of get that because if you see him in what was that early movie we did of him?
Cocktail.
No. It was before that. It's the one where he's running abroad. Yeah, it's the one.
Yep.
Nailed it. He is sort of like pretty tiny in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he bulked up later in life. Like, I ain't saying whatever, but like, I get why they might do that.
I thought they just did it so that they could play Italian last name Boggle with half the characters in this movie. And they were just like, shake up the letters and add an Eni, Oni, or Orelli at the end of it and have fun.
Does it sound like a pasta? It's fine. We'll move on.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
By the way, I just looked up how tall Johnny is, and it's 5'8". I was close.
You were close. But he is taller than Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Tom Cruise is. I guess I could look that up too.
I think he's 5'6" or 5'7".
He's 5'7". He's a little bit taller,
5'7",
Paige. Or a little bit shorter, sorry.
A little bit shorter.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Man, I am taller than both of them,
Yep.
but not by much.
Not by much.
I am almost a short king.
Almost.
Right.
Almost. And if you had been shorter, maybe you could have been the head of the T-Birds, but alas.
Oh, man. But Daddy took the leather jacket that I drew on the back with leather crayon, and so I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
But Paige, maybe we should go through Grease 2 scene by scene.
Let's do it. All right. We open on Rydell High. And the principal being like, it's a new year, a new era. The Russians put a man in space, and then they hold out a banner that's like 1961. And you're like, okay.
Thank you. I get it.
All right, so it's 2 years after Grease 1. And we open on the first song, like literally no other information. The first song of the movie starts, back to school again. And this is like an 8-minute opening song with intercut scenes of full exposition.
Yeah, Paige, it took them all summer to learn this opening song.
Yes.
So like, we're going to watch all of it.
I can't confirm this. I tried to find this in Fun Facts. I think this might have been the first thing they filmed. And here's why. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Either that or the first thing they edited. Because when you shoot musicals, and we talked about this a little bit when we talked about Mamma Mia and the Mamma Mia sequel, right?
Mamma Mia, here we go again. Yes, Paige.
Yeah, Mamma Mia, here we go again. The better shot, worse music version. Now, what we talked about is that there is a way to shoot musicals on screen. It is different than regular movies, but it is also different than choreographing a musical for the stage. And part of that...
Oh, yeah, we did talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah, is the wide shots and the overhead. And it's actually doing a good job of that. But something that they keep doing in this opening scene, that they do a couple other places, but it's mostly this opening scene, is they're starting shots before people start dancing.
Yes.
Like you should cut over to people already in motion.
Yeah.
And they're not because they can't. And so there's multiple scenes where like you watch a whole group of people be like, now, okay. And then they like run forward and dance.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's directing or editing in this scene, but I was like, this looks like it's your first day.
Well, it is their first day, Paige. This is the first day of school.
Yeah.
The principal just told us that.
That's true. But we meet the Pink Ladies.
Yes.
And we hear the Pink Lady Pledge.
Which, do you want to go
Yes.
through the Pink Lady Pledge?
I knew it. The Pink Ladies Pledge to act cool, to look cool, and to be cool till death do us part. Think pink, which is a slogan that Barbie stole later in the 90s. So then we meet the T-Birds, including Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, that's Christopher McDonald. He's Goose. That's the guy I was talking about being Goose.
He's Goose.
Yeah, I hear that guy eats pieces of shit for breakfast, Paige.
Here, you pieces of shit.
I don't know
for
why, but I
breakfast.
want to say that every time I see him.
I want to say Shooter Shoot, which is what he said when he got pulled over for drunk driving a few years back.
Wait, in real life?
Yes. It's my favorite thing about him because, like, look, drunk driving is bad and super dangerous. No one should ever fucking do it.
I agree.
Ever.
But
if you're fucking
Paige,
Shooter McGavin and you get pulled over, you didn't hurt anybody, and they're like, were you drinking tonight? And then you're like, Shooter Shoot. Hell, that's the funniest thing you could do. That's so funny.
I agree. Hilarious, but also give that guy a ticket for a DUI. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he paid the fines.
Yeah.
He did the stuff.
That's
Yes.
just like a guy doing like an action movie thing or like a CSI Miami thing where like something happens and you can say the one perfect thing to make everyone around you laugh. Like say it. Have fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then do your 45 days or whatever the DUI punishment is. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. So it's Goose, Louis DiMucci.
People his friends call him DiMucci. Yeah.
And then Jankowski, who we don't learn Jankowski's name until like 3/4 of the way through this movie. And then the head of the T-Birds, Johnny Nagarelli, aka Adrian Zemed. Now, it's been years since I had watched this. Whoever wrote this saw the one section of Grease 1 where they were doing Three Stooges shit and were like, got it. That's what all the T-Birds sound like. So everyone in this movie sounds like they have a debilitating head injury where they don't know how to pronounce words. I don't know what it is. Every American in this movie is written as if they've never spoken English in their lives.
They talk like goofy. Like it's just like over the top silly. I kind of like loved it. It was great.
It's very quotable, but also dumb at the same time. Yes.
That's what I was going to say. And 100% yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they mispronounce words that like they definitely would know, like album. Like, no, not a single person can seem to pronounce the word album.
And they call them long plays, not LPs. Like, what is happening?
Long play and albumins. And you're like, what?
That might be what they were called in 61. I've never heard someone say
Doubtful.
long play or extended play. It was either LP or EP. Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. They might have. It's the albumins that I thought, or like nucleoid war. And I'm like, do you need help?
Paige, we had a president who couldn't say nuclear right. So, like.
I know. And you know what? He grew up in this era. So maybe that's what happened.
Maybe.
But yeah, nucleoid war.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
They're all basically sex pests. Just a heads up on that as we enter this movie.
Yeah, it's just a gang of sex pests.
A gang of sex pests who's also sort of a barbershop quartet / Jersey Boys.
Yeah, which honestly, the same as Grease 1. Also a gang of sex pests.
Yeah.
That sing sometimes.
It's basically the Rat Pack. We got it. Let's move on.
Yeah, but then...
Sorry, Frankie. Sorry, Sammy.
Yeah, we meet a whole bunch of other students that'll just kind of be color in the background. It's the same as like the popular girl in Grease 1, who in the play has her own song, and that song actually fucking slaps, and it only plays in the background of Grease 1 the movie, but it is on the soundtrack. Anyway.
I'm sorry, did you forget the lead character's name from Grease 1?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
No. It's, I forget her name, but she's like...
The popular one's always Regina George. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Her name is Sandy.
No.
Olivia Newton-John is Sandy.
That's not who I'm referring to.
Oh, shit. Then I'm off. What are you talking about?
Yes, no. There's a girl in Grease 1 who, and I don't remember her name, but she's the one who's planning prom. And she's like trying to be friends with the pink ladies the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
And she is actually a character in the play that has her own song or whatever that doesn't make it into the movie. But there's like 15 of those in this movie who have names that we will never learn because they're only in... They have like 3 lines, but there's like a million of them, and everyone's like, she's such a bitch. And you're like, I don't know who she is. Like, she just ran through one scene, and that's it. And like, that's like the twins.
Paige, I don't understand why everyone seems to hate the twins because they seem nice.
Do you want me to burn a fun fact about the twins? Because I just found out something insane about the twins, and it's my favorite thing.
Before you do, and before we move on, because I'm sure listeners are yelling, the person you were talking about from Grease 1 is Patty Simcox.
Yes, Patty Simcox.
Yes. I remembered it as you were talking, and I wanted to get that out. Yes, sorry.
Patty Simcox. It's raining on prom night.
But please continue.
Yes. The twins. Okay, so because I found this out as I was doing fun facts. The twins were actually cast separately. They are twins. They are sisters.
I'm sorry. Wait,
Yes.
they were cast separately?
Yes, they went to 2 separate auditions. The casting director didn't have twins written into the movie at all. Cast them both, forgot that he had cast either one, and was like, yeah, I want one of those. Like, essentially cast the same person twice, if you want to think of it that way.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they showed up to, like, costumes and so, like, as they were, like, getting ready for production, and they were like, hey, didn't we already see you? Like, there's 2 of you. They had no idea they had cast twins. So they changed the script to make the twins more of characters. They're credited in the movie as the sorority girls.
That's amazing.
Because it's not as common today, but back in the day, there were sororities and things you could join in high school. And so, so they're the sorority girls, and there is 2 of them. But they didn't know until day 1.
That's hilarious because I know that there was a poor assistant who got fired because at the second audition, when the other sister showed up and the casting director was like, didn't we fucking cast this girl already? You're fired. Give me someone who can hire somebody. Like, what are we doing? And they found out they're twins and when they show up to shoot.
Here's what's crazy. 2 different casting teams, but same director.
Oh my God.
But because they're casting so many people, like,
yeah.
Here's the thing that this movie has. It has a fuckload of extras. Like,
yes.
It is real people because this predates.
In the scene we were talking about when we got on this little tangent here, there's like 75 dancers.
Just dancers.
Yes.
Not counting the other people not dancing, walking around.
I know.
Like, there's so many people. So I think that they just like saw one twin and were like, great. And then a few weeks later saw the other twin and was like, yeah, of course. Okay, great. And then like the day of, they both showed up. Anyway, so we're meeting all those people.
Yeah.
Then we meet Michael, aka Maxwell Caulfield, aka Sandy's cousin, and we have encountered our first problem of the movie. Do you remember where Sandy's character was allegedly from in the first movie?
No.
Australia.
Oh.
Michael is from the UK. They could still definitely be cousins, I guess. The movie seems to draw no distinction between Australia and the UK. Might as well be the same.
I mean, that's basic. Like, I would say that that's what most people assume. Yeah, they were a colony for a long time and did terrible things in Australia. So it's like, whatever. Yeah.
Well, and if memory serves, I don't think she's from Australia in the Broadway play. I could be wrong. I think they just did that for Olivia Newton-John, right? R.I.P. Love her. But in this one, they were like, well, he's from the UK. And so they just made it the UK. And anytime they talk, he's like, back home with Sandy. And you're like, what? Like, that's not where she lived.
Cut to Sandy in Australia, like, who?
I've always found this funny, but this is the first insane exposition dump of the movie because there are a ton of returning characters from the first movie in this one, but they filmed them like almost 10 years apart. So like they have to come up with explanations about why some of these people are still around, even though they've aged and whatever. So like the teachers and stuff, it's easy because you're like, yeah, of course they still work at the school.
Right.
And it's only supposed to be 2 years later within the story. But then they bring Frenchie back because if you remember, Frenchie dropped out in the first movie. Now she's back to finish her chemistry credits so that she can go back to cosmetology school and make her own cosmetics.
It sounds like she wants to be like a cosmetics maker, not necessarily someone who like applies makeup or does hair or anything like that.
No, like a manufacturer, skincare.
Yeah, she's like going to start Maybelline or some shit. Like that's her trajectory.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, she, within the movie, serves only to tell Michael information that we as the audience need.
Yeah.
That is her only purpose. So in this scene, she's just like, hi, Michael, glad to see you. I'm so glad my good friend Sandy's cousin could be here all the way from the UK. How are you excited for school? I'm excited. I'm coming back to get my cosmetic. It's just like, it's literally like a whole minute and a half of monologue of like, here's why I'm here. Wink, wink. Don't question it.
I also do think it's funny that like nobody else talks to her or sees her.
Only the pink ladies do.
So it's pretty much like she's just haunting Michael while he attends this school. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the only other people that talk to her are the pink ladies, and barely. Even though at some point she's like, oh, that's my good friend Stephanie. Stephanie never speaks to her.
Never. Michelle Pfeiffer doesn't know who Frenchie is to this day.
No
She's like,
idea.
Diddy Khan, who?
Who? They run a guy's cello up the flagpole. A guy jumps through the window. It's like a whole thing. We cut inside to their lockers. And this again is like exposition to try and help us learn very quickly about this new set of pink ladies that are basically the same archetypes as the last set of pink ladies, but with new names.
Yes.
Good luck.
But it's the same characters.
Yes. You have Paulette, who I would call the Rizzo of this group, but not nearly as interesting or good as Stockard Channing.
Oh, love Stockard Channing.
Really missing her gravitas in this movie.
Yeah.
And then you have two, and I forget their names every time, two other pink ladies that are virtually interchangeable. One of them is the one that gets the nose job. She's supposed to be the Frenchie. She's the only one who talks to Frenchie.
I know.
And then the other one is like a theater kid who I think is supposed to be Jan, the one who knows all the commercial jingles from the first movie, or AKA in the first movie, if you have not seen the original Grease in a while, she's, air quotes, the fat one. Like that's her whole arc in Grease 1, despite being basically the same size as everybody else. But that's her whole thing. In fact, that's why they're always yelling at her for eating in the movie. It's rough. It's rough.
But I guess, like, just for all the guys out there, so, like, Stephanie is like Leonardo, Paulette's like Michelangelo, Sharon's like Donatello, and Rhonda is like Raphael.
I mean, I don't know. Raphael is cool but rude. I feel like that's much more of a Stephanie character.
Rhonda's a little sarcastic, right?
She's a little sarcastic, for sure.
I feel like I was I did as good as I could for like comparing the pink ladies to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Then they also have Paulette's younger sister, Dolores. Yes.
Played by...
Pamela.
Did you not know this? It's Pamela Adlon.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
star of screen and voice and writing and a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, she's done tons of things, guys.
Yes.
A lot of, and some like animation stuff. She's been all over the place. Like she's
All over the place.
very gifted. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's my favorite because she's so young
Yeah.
in this. But like, she's got the same voice. And I'm like, it's her. You can tell.
She's like 13, 14, like in this movie.
Yes.
She's very young. When Max was like, consider it a date or whatever, I was like, ugh.
Ooh.
But then it was very clear that he wasn't like romantically interested. He just wanted to make
No.
sure that this child got home safely. I was like, okay, that's fine. Whatever, that's fine. Say whatever you have to like make sure that child gets home safe.
Sure. And to burn a fun fact, part of that is because she was in a car accident
What?
during filming. And so at certain points, there's a stand-in for her just from the back.
Okay.
And then at other points, like you notice in that scene, he's like helping her on the skateboard and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's supposed to be like a skateboarder kid. We rarely see her skateboard. Anyway, they all get into school. We see which pink lady is hooked up with which T-Bird. It doesn't super matter, but they will each mostly get a song about it later.
They actually all like are coupled up at the end and are singing about what they learned over the course of the movie page.
Yes. And you're like, what? You were barely on the screen.
I know. And you're like, oh my God, when did you learn anything? I
When
saw you
did
for
this happen?
3 minutes tops.
There is, I mean, if you are a fan of the first Grease, there's a whole lot of Easter eggs. Like there's one where one of the pink ladies, I think it's Rhonda, her whole locker is dedicated to Vince Fontaine, who from Bandstand in the original Grease, who definitely bangs a student. Dark. Again,
Yeah.
original Grease, pretty dark.
Well, in this movie, as they're singing in this opening number that we've been talking about for 20 minutes,
Yeah.
there's a section where the T-Birds are like, hey, I want to smash it with that teacher, right?
Oh, yeah, they definitely want to bang Miss Mason.
Yeah.
And she bangs that other teacher, a hondo.
You think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In a supply closet.
I honestly got the vibe that they would date so that no one would ask him questions, if you're catching my drift.
Oh, see, I could absolutely see that being the case, except that he like leers at her in every scene. Now that could very well just be like a wonderful hat, Mary, but like he's like eyes on the tits the whole time.
Fair.
So yeah,
Fair.
I believe their intention was for them to date. Are there, homoerotic undertones? Perhaps.
Aren't there always?
Aren't there always? But this is where Michael tries to find his locker. But of course, the T-Birds are like, that's our locker. Because, of course,
Because they're terrible.
they're terrible. Stephanie, like, has a skirt in her locker that she puts over her, like, little pedal pusher pants, which my grandmother, because again, claimed to have gone to high school at a time much like this, told us many things that they would do to their clothing to, like, meet dress code without having to, like, actually do dress code. So like they were supposed to wear, I guess not nylons, because like nylons as we think of nylons didn't really get invented until the mid 60s, but like stockings. And they were the ones that had the like seam down the back. So they would like draw up the back of their leg with eyeliner to make it look like they had stockings on when they didn't. But she also said that they
crazy.
had to wear, they had to wear skirts. They weren't allowed to wear pants. So that's why she puts on a skirt here, allegedly.
Yeah, she's putting a skirt on, like, and she's like pulling her pant legs up so you can't see she's also wearing pants.
Yes.
Which is very funny. But she also fully breaks up with Johnny in this scene, the first day of school, which comes back later towards the end of the school year when he thinks he breaks up with her.
Oh, insane.
Yeah.
And spoiler, this movie encompasses a year of time, and we see conservatively 3 days of it.
Very pivotal days.
Pivotal days. But she, in this scene, she's like, I outgrew him over the summer. And you're like, all right, fine. I think you might have to turn a chair backwards to tell him about it, but sure.
I thought that just meant she hit 5'9".
Oh, no, maybe.
Eat a dick, Johnny. Sorry. I'm just joking. I honestly love Johnny in this movie. He's hilarious.
The T-Birds in this are the dumbest. But here's the thing, though. In the original, they are like they are definitely sex pests, but like the coolest dudes on campus where they are kind of badasses.
Yeah.
And in this one, they're like fully afraid of the other motorcycle guys.
It's awesome.
And are just like, as much as we don't have to fight them, we bowl. We're going to bowl instead. And you're like, all right.
The only time they want to fight is when they outnumber the person they're going to fight by 3 people.
By 3 people.
Yeah, it's like 3-1. And then when they get out there and it's like 9-3, they're like, oh, we're out of here.
Just kidding.
Thank God Cool Rider comes by and does some wheelies, Paige.
Woo, and rides in circles.
I've never been more scandalized.
But we get a little bit of everybody's first day at school. We get like Frenchie in the chem lab. We get them on the football field. We get Michael introduced in like the English class and, whatever.
I love the morning announcements. We see a teacher full on die and become a ghost. Paige. He's a ghost. And the people doing the announcements, like the lady who kicks it off with like the musical notes on the like
Blanche.
the small little like xylophone thing. It's actually like more of a marimba.
She's from the OG.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. But like she practiced all summer to like a whole song. And the other lady is like, stop it. It's too much. And it was too much, Plants. Calm it down.
The Foley on her grabbing that
so
tiny
funny.
xylophone.
It made me laugh. It did make me laugh. I thought it was funny.
It gets me every time.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
But like, so while they're doing the announcements, they announce to everyone in the school that we have a British exchange student. And then they pause to allow the teacher in the one classroom he's in to be like, would you mind standing up and introducing yourself? And then they just like knew exactly when he was done speaking to pick back up with the announcements again to the whole school. So if you were in another classroom, it would have just been like a minute full ass pause in your room.
Yes.
And you would have been like, did somebody die? Like, what happened?
Yes.
Anyway, it's insane.
It's crazy. It's very much the scene from Mean Girls where it's like, we have an exchange student from Africa, Caddy. And she's like, it's Katie. Like that kind of, Anyway, while the T-Birds are doing PE and smoking at the same time, the amount of people that do athletic things while smoking in this movie, hilarious.
Paige, it was the 60s. What do you expect?
Oh, that nailed it.
Yeah.
But as they're talking, a motorcycle armada drives onto the track because it's like a rival gang it's the same guy from the first Grease, except he had a car in that one and now he's got a bike in this one.
He traded in a car for a motorcycle, Paige.
Yeah. Bikes! Like they just roll up.
Hey, you know what's better all year round? A car or a motorcycle? Definitely a car.
A car.
If it rains, if it's cold, like motorcycles are fun, but they're not like a great everyday vehicle.
No. Well, they are in California though. So like, most of your days are bikeable.
Yeah, if you're in a place where it's warm and doesn't like rain a ton, which Southern California definitely would be, but like Northern California, not so much.
Yeah. And I mean, it is raining ash today. So like, pick your spots.
God help you if it starts raining men, Paige.
Oof. I'm going to go out. I'm going to let myself get absolutely soaking wet.
Come on, weather girl.
Anyway, they roll up and they're just like, you guys suck and you guys suck. Like, we really don't know what their quarrel be. They just bite their thumbs at each other, sir.
Which I love also because, Paige, first off, Shakespeare reference. Thank you. They like
you're welcome.
bond over writing a Shakespeare paper. Well done.
And they call Michael Shakespeare the whole movie.
They do, because honestly, like I got when she was like, well, what do you think you know about Shakespeare? And I got why he was like, what do I know about him? Like, motherfucker owes me $20. Yeah, I'm from Britain.
Motherfucker owes me $20.
I grew up in Warwickshire. Sorry. Which, don't quote me. I'm pretty sure that's where Shakespeare was from. I don't
Stratford
fully know.
upon Avon.
Damn it, I was close.
Stratford upon Avon.
I was close. Eat a dick, Avon, or Stratford, whichever one.
Stratford upon Avon calling. So they're all just like, I don't like you. And he's like, are we going to fight it out tonight? And he's like, no, because fuck. Oh, damn. We're bowling tonight.
No, because we're scared of you. Yeah.
We're bowling.
They're definitely scared of this guy, which I get. He's got an actual motorcycle gang, not a barbershop quartet with motorcycles.
And a sidecar. Yeah.
Paige.
Well, one of them doesn't even have a bike. He has a sidecar.
Paige, when the guy rolls up and one of them's in a sidecar, I like lost my mind. Because the whole movie, the shortest of the
Jankowski.
Yeah. I was like, okay, if Sean Astin was in the 60s, that's him. And
yes.
And I was like, is this guy the same age? Is he also a freshman? Is he like the new pledge in the T-Birds? Like, I got very interested in why he didn't have his own bike.
Well, I mean, speaking of age, I should we got to bring up, conservatively, every student in this film looks 42.
Yeah, but I mean, it was the 60s, and like skincare wasn't really a thing back then.
No, and they do be smoking.
Yeah, they're smoking while they're working out. By the way, in this scene, when they're confronting the other biker dude, they're wearing like gym shorts that were like 60s gym shorts, so they're pretty short, and they're leather jackets. So it's like really short shorts and leather jackets. It's the worst look.
Yeah, it's like Winnie the Poohing, even though they have bottoms on.
It's so close to that, yeah.
Right? And the only one pulling it off is Maxwell Caulfield, who's got like a vintage sweatshirt and the short shorts. And I was like, he never skips a leg day. Good for you, boy.
Paige was like, he could be pulling anything off. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, that's all of it. Yeah, I did not feel the same in Merry Gentlemen, but that's okay. Anyway, this is where he's talking to Frenchie. He's like, what do you know about Stephanie? Because he's like set his sights on her. And Frenchie's like, you basically got to be a T-Bird. He's like, how do I become a T-Bird? She's like, oh no, the other guys are here. So like, we never get an answer to that, right?
We don't. But he like sort of figures it out over the course of the movie.
Yeah. But this is also where we learn Balmudo, who's the other guy, like the other.
That's his name.
Balmudo is the bad guy motorcycle gang. And at this point, I just typed into my notes. I was like, did they use an Italian name generator? Like, I say this as an Italian. Pasta tat to hand to God. The only name out of these that I had ever heard before as an Italian is Demucci. And the rest, I'm like, I feel like you're just picking syllables at this point. And everyone seems to be Italian with the exception of Jankowski and Goose. Everyone else seems to be Italian. I guess maybe there's a lot of us here. I don't know. It is supposed to be Los Angeles.
I don't know, Paige. I thought it was very funny that all of them seem to be very Catholic and Italian. And that all those names seem to be pasta-based. So like in my mind, I was like, is this some weird Italian pasta-based religion that like...
Ooh, tell me more. Did you show up at my door with a pamphlet? Let's go.
Our pasta, who art al dente, hallowed be thy sauce. Thy noodles come, thy flavors be done. On plate, as it is in pot. Give us this day our daily carbs. I could go on forever, Paige.
You could go on.
And forgive us our food comas. I'm so sorry.
You know how some people have live, laugh, love signs in their kitchen? I want one that just says carb, tomato, cheese. Because like, and I've seen other people do it. I am not the originator of this idea. I just feel like carb, tomato, cheese is much more my life motto. I already have a doily that says bread. I just need carb, tomato, cheese. Anyway, this roaming band of Italians in leather jackets are like, we bowl, we cut to the bowling alley. Where it is very quickly yada, 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 that now that Stephanie and Johnny are not together, Paulette is trying to get with Johnny because they both make bad decisions. I don't know.
I felt so bad for Paulette throughout. I'm going to say 100% of this movie.
Yes, yeah.
Because she is chasing a man who is not into her.
Yep.
And ends up with him at the end of the movie, and she thinks that's a good thing. It made me so sad.
Look, Paulette, Johnny's chasing Stephanie. You're chasing Johnny. But who is chasing you?
Yeah, who's chasing you?
Who's chasing you?
By the way, the 3-word tattoo that I want is not live, laugh, love. It's deny, defend, oppose. Anyway.
You got to get it on bullets, though. I do love that she's bowling and refuses to put her fingers in the hole to break her nails. I had a coworker who used to do that.
She's also like doggy style bowling. It's not granny bowling. She's doggy style bowling, which ladies get into. Like, that's not hot. Little Miss Gold pants. Like, I ain't mad at it. If that was Natalie, I'd have said something. And that something would have been profane. And for her ears only. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. It's just reminding me of that dude who's on like fucking TikTok who will like stitch with videos like that and just be like, God damn.
Yeah, man, wouldn't TikTok be great if it had like original content on it instead of just like people stealing content from Reddit and then posting themselves in the videos to make it less interesting and longer?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm on Craft Talk most of the time, where people are making their own shit.
Ooh, come on down to Craft Talk.
Craft Talk, Crochet Talk be popping off. Cross Stitch Talk is fucking wild right now.
Oh, the cross talk? Come on.
Cross Talk. But so Paulette is actually good. But he basically, as she's doggy style bowling,
Get into it.
is like, I've got a cure for her disease, nymphoid mania. I was like, all these people are morons. But he's basically like, Paulette is willing to have sex, and so I'm gonna go after Paulette to make Stephanie jealous, and Stephanie could not care less because Stephanie is over it. But then we go into the song We're Gonna Score, which is a very long, giant bowling song in which they switch the bowling balls out for what I assume are like dodgeballs, because people are like pirouetting with bowling balls and clapping with bowling balls. And it's so funny to me.
Not only are they probably just like a hardened plastic, they're like filled with helium. They seem so light.
Yes.
But yeah, it's very funny though. And I was here for it. And the song's not terrible. So
No, it'll get stuck in your head, but
yeah.
They finish bowling. Meanwhile, Michael has made his way and he's like, I'm going to go and I'm going to ask them to bowl. And he's like rehearsing phrases about like, hey, gents, fancy a game? And you're just like, oh, hopeless.
He's a new kid in town trying to make some friends with the clique of guys that are like, for whatever reason, the only available options for the pink ladies.
Yeah. But he comes inside just as they're wrapping up an argument where Johnny makes out with Paulette and is like, great, now you, Stephanie. And Paulette's just like, oh, and I'm like, girl, what did you expect? He's terrible. He's awful.
Yeah, because like Paulette's more or less under the impression that she is sort of there on a date with him, and that's his fault.
Yeah.
He told her to wear something special tonight.
Wear something special, and I love her gold lame pants.
And you should, Paige. And I realize that him saying that isn't like, hey, we're going on a date tonight. But like, I would understand the implication with that.
Sure.
I get why she's pissed is all I'm saying.
Absolutely. But so Stephanie's like, I ain't fucking kissing you. You don't own me. I could kiss whoever I want. I could kiss the next guy who walks in that door. It happens to be Michael. They kiss. And she's like, bye. And Michael's like, what the fuck just happened? Are you guys still bowling? Where am I? And then Pamela Adlon is just like, hey man, come with me. I'll tell you what's up. So these bikers, if you're not a biker or a biker's old lady, nobody cares. And she's like giving him the rundown of the T-Birds. And he's like, okay, thank you. And she's like, yeah, I'm Dolores and they call me Upchuck and I hate it, blah, blah, blah. It's like a rambling monologue of all the information that we need to know.
I'm here because they want this movie to do as good as the last movie, but John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John both said no.
Oh, they didn't say no. I have stuff and fun facts.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, I think they were too expensive is what actually
Well,
happened.
that's kind of what's saying. Yeah, of course. They both went on and became way bigger stars after that movie. Yeah.
They never got offers to give you an idea for this movie. They like met with them and then they never heard from them again.
I mean, and honestly, they may have wanted, like they were seniors that year. So they may have wanted to like stay at the high school and they weren't in high school anymore.
Right. Yeah. And they could have gone, I don't know if they were going to try and go Back to the Future where it's like, it's your kids, Marty. Like, I don't know if they were going to do that instead, but they had like one meeting with them and then John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John never heard from them again.
Okay. Fair enough.
Anyway, we cut to the next day where they announce the talent show, which means that these people spend conservatively 8 months preparing for one talent show, which we will talk more about the talent show when we get there because it's madness.
Paige, it is like their talent show is produced by a Broadway producer.
Yes!
When the ladies come out and do their song, they come out of the same cabinet that they used in Narnia. It looks like they're like in these colorful, crazy outfits. It's amazing. I loved it.
It's nonsense and I love it.
Yes.
But this is where we find out that the prize for the talent show is it's 100 LPs, basically.
Long plays, Paige, please.
Long playing albumins. And my favorite is and Goose says it every time it comes up. He's like, give me them Roy Orbisones.
I know.
And I'm like, Roy Orbison? Like, what is, like, don't get me wrong. Love me some Roy Orbison. I understand. But Roy Orbisones. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to burst a head vein. And Beethoven and Chopin. Beethoven and Chopin.
Yeah, instead of Beethoven and Chopin.
It's supposed to be Tchaikovsky. Later, he's like,
yeah.
Tchaikovsky.
Tchaikovsky.
Tchaikovsky's and Chopins. Anyway, this is where we meet the sub because that one teacher during the morning announcements left this plane and went to sing with the choir invisible, or rather just left this movie and will return at the luau.
As a ghost.
As a ghost. But so he's like, I'll be your substitute. And the entire class is like, oh, fuck this. And just like leaves and walks out into the hallway to smoke.
And he's like, fine, I don't care. It'll give me more time to rehearse a really perverted song I have to sing to you later.
Great.
I would be so pissed if I was a sub and my first day, I had to sing that song for class.
Oh, and thankfully it's not his first day. The implication is he's the sub for like the year and it's weeks later. But the movie plays fast and loose with time. So it seems like it's days later, but it is weeks.
Yeah.
Anyway, they do get confronted in the hallway by the principal and he has to swallow that cigarette on accident. But then we cut to the first talent show rehearsal and it's the twins singing a song about Brad, like giving him their address, but then he cheats on them with some other girl. It's this random giant sweeping song about Brad. And it's bonkers.
It is fully insane.
It is. But the one thing that we have from this is they have asked Michael to play piano. And so Michael ends up playing piano also for the Pink Ladies and their crowd, including Stephanie. And I love that he's like playing and then just like, hi, hello. Do you want to go get a hamburger later? And you're like, eyes on the music, dipshit. Like, what are you doing? You've never seen this song before. Anyway, this is also because we see like varying stages of their costumes.
Yeah.
And this is the one where she's just wearing a cardboard box that says tree.
Yeah.
And that's pretty great. And as she like is pelvic thrusting, the box doesn't really move. It's very funny to me. I love it so much.
She literally makes herself a box. It's very funny.
Yes. So good. But then after they finish, she's like, great, do you want to go get a burger? She's like, I'm busy. And he's like, well, how about tomorrow? She's like, still busy. Basically, I'm going to be busy forever because you're not cool enough, because this is the song that will get stuck in your head for the entire rest of the movie. It is cool, Ryder.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it is catchy. You will love it. And it's the one reason that people are like, no, this movie's actually not that bad. It is that bad. But this song is fun.
Yeah, it is that bad, but I love this song.
Yep.
I also love this movie. I will watch this movie again fully. I know it's not great.
Oh, I love to force people to watch this movie. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I love Grease 2, the Clark Kent story.
This is also, we get to see Maxwell Caulfield in an incredible, like, Chris Evans level sweater. And like,
we do.
Yes, thank you. But this is where DiMucci comes up to him and he's like, yeah, I got to write a paper on the fall of Rome. I didn't even know they was in trouble. It's so dumb. And I love it so much.
I know, because like obviously everybody knows about Rome, right? Like everybody knows.
Especially
it was, like,
an Italian.
I know, right? Like everybody knows. Like he would know. Like they overextended the empire. They faced economic crisis, the Visigoths, whatever. Like everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
No. I had to look up all of that. And how to pronounce Visigoth. Like, I didn't know shit. I was like, I would ask this guy to write my paper too.
I always heard Vigoths. That might be wrong, though.
Vigoths are vampires that are bi that are also very goth.
Into it.
Yeah.
But the idea that he's like, Rome fell, I didn't even know there was in trouble. But this is where Michael gets his job writing papers for all of the T-Birds to pay to buy a motorcycle. And I do love that in this scene, he's like talking out loud to himself. He's like, then I could buy a motorcycle. He's like, yeah, invest in a bike. That's a good idea.
I thought that was very funny too, Paige.
It's great.
Because he's very clearly talking to himself, but like the guy who's still in the scene is like, bro, I'm still here. So I'm going to assume we're in a conversation.
I also like bikes. But we get conservatively.
Nope, conservatively.
God damn it. I'm turning into a T-Bird. This is also where he like invites DiMucci to the fallout shelter to then like trade the papers so that nobody can see. But this is where we get a montage of him selling a bunch of papers to get a bunch of money. We then cut to health class where we get the song Reproduction, which it's so cringe it comes back around to being fun, but it is maximum cringe.
It's so silly, and I kind of loved it, but it is...
Sex pesty. The content is rough.
I was going to say, like, kind of inappropriate for, like, school.
Sure.
I mean, and not what they're learning. I don't mean any of that. I just mean, like, what he's allowing to go on in class. Because he is, like, teaching them about plant He's teaching them how plants get dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like how they get
Right.
nasty. But they're throwing in like, ooh, take some of my stamen or whatever. They're like making it real gross.
Stamen go berserk.
Yeah.
My favorite is before the song starts where he's like, when is the optimum time for conception? Mr. Tabucci. And he just goes, at night. Like, dumb. Love it. The part that's really rough is that it gets into like, so what if she like says she's into it, but that she's not into it? And like, does she know that how hot she's making me? And it's like, there are a lot of layered questions about consent here, and none of them get answered because they're just like reproduction. And it's just nuts.
Yeah.
For a whole like 4.5 minutes.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yes.
At one point, one of them goes, where does the pollen go?
Where does the pollen go?
Yeah, it was like the bass. Yeah. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I do think if like a Pentatonics or some other a cappella group really nailed this, it would be hilarious because it is like 9-part harmony or whatever going on. There's like so many crazy things happening.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's great.
We get a brief like cut with the principal who's like, this is inappropriate. And then a girl is like, can I talk to you? I've missed my last 2 periods. And she's like, you can make them up later. And you're like,
Yeah, no, she probably pregnant.
She pregnant.
Yeah.
She muy pregante. But then we cut to bikes. It's just a giant bike graveyard. And this is where Michael buys and fixes up his bike. And then we get like another 20 minutes of him like fixing up the bike, learning how to ride the bike, and like learning, and like just a montage of that. Because there's not a lot of story to this movie.
No, it is pretty loose.
Pretty loose. The original Grease has a lot more story and nuance to it. This one, nah.
Nah, there's no subtext. It's just text page.
Just text. But we cut to another rehearsal for the talent show where we see the base of the Christmas dress. And we get to see the Prep Tones sing Mr. Sandman, classic.
And those guys can actually sing.
Oh, yeah.
And all they do is get bullied by the T-Birds. Yeah.
The T-Birds, whose rehearsal in this scene is so maddeningly bad.
Yeah.
That, like, when they do well later, you're like, impossible, but fine.
I choose to see their performance in the talent show where it's showing them doing a good performance or whatever.
An alternate reality.
Yeah, it's like in that scene we reference many times in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia,
Yes.
where we see what they think they're doing and then they show us what the audience is seeing, and it's terrible. We just never see the audience side of it.
Yes. All we have to do now. Yeah, that Always Sunny one is incredible.
Love it. It goes on for so long for them just to rip the rug out beneath you.
I love it so much.
I know.
That's how I feel about Stephanie singing a cappella, a song that nobody else knows and no one was prepared for at the end of the talent show.
And she wins with it, Paige.
And she wins.
The audacity.
He continues to work on that bike. We then cut back to they announce who's in the talent show, and it turns out they didn't have enough acts, so everyone made it. And this is where they're like spying on the Prep Tones in the shower. And Goose is just like, we got to win. I want them Roy Orbisones. I'm just like, why did you decide to say it that? If I ever meet him, I'm going to be like, first of all, high five on the shooter's going to shoot thing.
Right.
But secondly, why Roy Orbisones?
And he's going to be like, I don't know. That's what the director told me to say it like.
I was on coke the whole time. Like, I don't know. Anyway, Michael's like painting the bike. He's ready.
Yeah.
And they're going to go out bowling again. And who should show up but Balmudo? And it's at first he's like alone. And they're like, oh, we'll go get him. But then by the time they get out there, there's like a whole crowd of bikers. And they're like, oh no. And they go back inside. But who should show up? The Cool Rider.
Not yet, Paige, because...
Oh, Jaworski ends up there out there too.
So like anybody's, or it's not anybody, Dolores, but she's pretty much anybody's from
She's
West Side
basically
Story.
anybody's from West Side Story.
In my mind, she was anybody's. So anybody's tells Jaworski that like, you got to go help the T-Birds because it's currently 3-on-1.
Right.
So with the other guy, the other pasta sounding name biker gang, I don't know his name. Balmudo. Yeah, that guy.
A nice Balmudo with an Alfredo sauce.
Oh, with some meatballs? Let's go. But like, Jaworski goes out there thinking he's going to join a T-Bird style it's currently a 3-against-1
Right.
ass kicking of this other guy. So he walks out all cocky and confident, and it turns out that not only are none of the T-Birds there, it's like 12 of the other gang, and it's just him.
Right.
So like the Cool Rider shows up as they're about to like fight just Jaworski, and he like saves him.
Right. He shows up and he saves him. And by saves him, I mean they ride in circles around this parking lot. They just kind of chase each other around while everyone sings, "Who's that guy?"
Yeah.
Ooh, who's that guy? Which again will get stuck in your head. It's not that bad of a song, but it's all them being like, "He came out of the darkness." And you're like, okay, it's very 80s. It's not very 60s. It belongs in a wild, glittery rock opera.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
When he rides up on a car, like they're chasing him, they're doing wheelies, I guess, back and forth.
Yeah.
And then they're like chasing him around and he just drives up on top of a car. I would have been like, bro, that's my car. And I'm singing a song for you right now.
Hey. But my favorite is that like it gets to the verse of like, "Who's that guy? The one on the cycle." And then we get Michael's internal monologue, which happens a couple times in this movie. He has a whole song that's just internal monologue. But it gets to his internal monologue and he's just like, "What would they say if they knew it was Michael? Looks to me like he could really fly." Anywho, they all go inside to bowl, and it looks like he's gone away because the other motorcycle crowd was like, "We can't handle one guy on a motorcycle riding around." So they leave. And Stephanie's outside, and she's like, "Who was that guy? I'm going to like light a cigarette." And then he like offers a lighter, and she's like, and he's like, "Do you want to ride?" And she's like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "The cops are coming. Maybe another time." And then he jumps that fucking cop car.
Yes, Paige, all of what you're saying is factually accurate. As someone who rode motorcycles for a long time in my life, let me paint the picture of what's happening in the scene that the camera is not showing us. Because Michelle Pfeiffer's like, "You guys go bowl, I'm going to stay out here and smoke," and one of the ladies hangs back to talk with her, right? As they're talking, what you're not seeing, because we're only seeing the two girls in the scene talk,
Right.
is Rex Manning straddling his motorcycle and walking,
walking
it
it
over
up
like a duck on a bike. And he is like just sneaking up in front of them. There's no way they wouldn't have seen
They
it.
didn't hear him yet.
It's so funny to me that he is on the motorcycle while he lights her cigarette.
It was really funny.
You guys have heard a motorcycle, right? Like there's no way
Yeah,
the
they're
bike
like the loudest
was
things on earth.
In fact, I know
Yes.
it wasn't on because he starts it after he lights it to leave.
Yeah, so he was just rolling around.
Yeah. I dated a lady who had, this is way before Natalie, by the way. It was like way before I moved to San Diego. Anyway, but I dated a lady who had a child during the time I had my motorcycle. And so like I would go to her house and then leave. And I didn't want to wake the kid up as I was leaving. So I would like duck walk it out of her driveway and then start it in the street. But like, if you've seen anybody do that, this scene makes you laugh because that's all I saw was Rex Manning like duck walking
just
across the
duck walking
the
it
park
up
lot.
to her.
So dumb.
Amazing. But we cut to the next day after he has jumped the cop car and gone away.
Because he's Superman, Paige, a.k.a. Cool Rider.
Yeah. Anywho, we cut to the next day where he comes to see Frenchie in the chem lab because she's basically like
A ghost.
she's the Michael Caine to his Batman.
She's an exposition ghost. And yes, I heard what you just said, and I fully agree. She is Alfred.
She is the Alfred, yes. I kept wanting to say Arthur, and I was like, I know it's not that, but Michael Caine, Arthur, and Alfred. And she's just like, "So I heard that somebody caused a stir at the Bolorama," and he's like, "It was me."
Yeah. He tells her instantly, tells no one else until the very end.
No, and she's like, "Well, what are you going to do? Because if she finds out it's you, she's not going to think it's cool." And he's like, "I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'll just go up to her and I'll be like, 'Hey, Steph.'" And then who should walk into the room but Steph and the other girls who don't really seem to talk to Frenchie. Like,
Paige,
yeah,
they can't see her. She only exists in Rex Manning's head.
yeah. I always thought that because he turns to Stephanie and he's like, "Hey, Stephanie, have you ever read a Superman comic?" And I was like, that's such a weird thing to say. And but like talking about it now, I'm like, oh, because Clark Kent, he's going to try and be like, "I'm Clark Kent, but I am also this super cool writer." But he gives up and leaves. We then cut to them doing like an air raid drill at school. And that immediately cuts to DiMucci taking, is it Sharon? I think it's Sharon.
I'm pretty sure it's Sharon, yeah.
Yeah, to the bomb shelter where he is going to convince her there is an air raid in hopes that she will bang it out so that they repopulate America after the bomb drops.
Yeah.
It's a complicated role play. I'm not hating it, but
I don't think it's a role play for Sharon. I think
that's the thing. If Sharon was in on it, I could see playing out this dynamic as someone who loves me a weird post-apocalyptic movie, get real Kyle Reese with it, but both people have to be in on it.
Paige, there's no way many listeners haven't done a Fallout style role play. Are you kidding?
Right.
Which is all this is.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. If she was in on it, fun role play. She's not. And
No.
also, Goose and Jankowski are outside listening.
They're the ones doing the air raid siren. They're in
Yeah,
on
they're
it.
doing the air
They're
raid siren.
accessories to this possible sexual assault.
They're Foleying his hookup.
How dare you? Yes, absolutely they are. Yeah.
But so she realizes what's going on. And she's like, no, you're terrible. And like leaves. And he's like, oh, damn it. But they were like putting bandages on each other. She's like dressed as a nurse. I was like, get it, Sharon. But no. Anyway, we cut to Stephanie at the service station the next day, which is her job. And she's like trying to like get gas for people and windshield for people, which, by the way, as somebody who used to work in the service industry, if you can see that somebody's helping somebody else, don't yell at them. They have shit to do. Like, they will get to you. They know you're there. But the amount of people who will just walk up and be like, hi, can you help me? It's like, I'm literally ringing up another person. What is wrong with you?
It happens. And I'm not saying they should have yelled at her, but she up and quits her job, I guess.
Yeah, she just
And
fucking leaves.
The second, not Superman, Cool Rider gets on his motorcycle and decides to spend 50 cents on some gas, Paige.
Yeah, look, I'm here to tell you that if Henry Cavill had walked into Sur La Table and been like, I'm going to buy this Dutch oven, then you and I are going to leave.
Dutch oven. Get under these
Yeah.
sheets, baby.
I'd be like, damn right we are. I'm like tossing my apron over the counter and be like, sucks to suck, nerds. And I'd be out.
In
like,
case you were wondering if Paige would quit her job to smell Henry Cavill's farts, she just confirmed yes.
I would.
That is what she would do.
I bet they smell like magic, The Witcher. I don't know. He probably he eats a lot of meat if Instagram is to be believed. Anyway, I don't need to tangent on what his farts might smell like. Probably like farts. Anyway, she leaves. She leaves. They go on a fun motorcycle thing where they're doing like tricks where she like goes around the front and he's like wheeling. And she's just like, oh my God, I'm shivering. And he's like, hold on tight. And then...
No, Paige, it's not just hold on tight. He does say hold on tight. And then she says, that's why I'm shivering.
That's why I'm shivering.
I was like, yes, this is as bad as I needed it to be today.
He's like, hold on, Spider Monkey. Let's go. But so he drops her back off at the service station and they're like hugging. And he's like, no, I'm the one that's shivering. And I'm like, worst line in this entire movie.
It's because you chose to ride your motorcycle in just a leather jacket.
Just a leather jacket.
The wind's going to blow right through you, my friend.
Anyway, the T-Birds show up and they're like, who is he? And he's like, I'll see you later. And he like rides away. So they don't get to talk to him or whatever. And they're just like, what's the deal, Stephanie? You're supposed to like be with a T-Bird. And she's like, I don't give a fuck because I'm with Cool Rider. And they're like, all right, fine. But it's like this huge fight. The girls all storm off because Johnny is being a dick. And he's like, we got to go to the grocery store and get some pussy there. And that literally leads into their song for the talent show.
Paige, they literally leave their girlfriends at this gas station to go sing a song about what they think sex and prowling is in a parking lot.
Yes.
I know why they're not getting laid.
Yeah.
They're leaving their girlfriends to go sing and dance in a parking lot. Paige, they're not interested in actually having sex with women.
Oh, if you told me, surprise, they're all having sex with each other, I'd be like, that makes complete sense.
Paige, thinking back on my life when I was late in high school and early college, I often left a girlfriend to go practice music to play in a parking lot. So like maybe they're not like I see where okay.
Right.
They're just dedicated to the Jersey Boy band that they're in. That's what it is.
Right. But we literally within the movie, it goes from like in the parking lot to them practicing for the talent show with full sets and like silhouetted dancers
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, that was great. Good for you. And they're like, now we just got to get rid of the competition, AKA the prep tones. But we cut to them in class for once. And the teacher, Miss Mason, is like, Stephanie, your Shakespeare essay sucked. And she's just like, oh. And Michael's like, oh, I know about Shakespeare. Do you want help with Shakespeare? And she's just like, okay. So they go out for like hamburger homework time together.
Yeah, they go get it's like a bite to eat. They go to like a Steak and Shake, more or less, right?
Yeah, it's like a
50s diner.
Yeah.
But like it makes sense because it's 1961. There would be tons of those around.
There are still tons of those in Los Angeles. We still have a lot of them.
We have some too, but I mean, like, that would be just like going to a diner in 61 is all I'm saying. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, no, locally we had, well, I don't know how many are still standing, but we have a lot that are from that era that have just continued, that like the neighborhood loves them and so they still exist. And so like the same family has owned it or whatever. And there's like a fuck ton of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Which honestly, I dig a 50s diner.
Same, chili fries.
Yeah.
The best. But they end up talking and they have kind of some chemistry here a little bit where it seems like they could at least be friends.
Yeah. I honestly think if she hadn't met Superman, Lois Lane would have definitely dicked down Clark Kent. And I feel like it's the same thing here. She just met Superman.
Yeah.
And she met an also great guy who she doesn't know is Superman. Like, that is Cool Writer. She doesn't know. And she's into Cool Writer. So she's not seeing him like romantically.
Right.
Because she has a crush on somebody else.
Right.
But I definitely do think they have like chemistry.
Sure.
Like at the end of this movie when they're like getting together, she's like, no, I definitely am glad I can do both.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're a Cool Writer because I was sort of into you. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we do get a brief cut to Johnny and Goose and he's like, we got to go find a place where the broads are. And they go to the same restaurant where they encounter Steph and Michael kind of leaves and Steph, they're like, you got to give us back the pink lady jacket if you're not going to date one of us. And she was like, fuck you, and keeps the jacket.
And also, I have a solidly pink car.
Yeah.
You know what makes me stand out more as a pink lady? Probably the car.
Yes.
It's like she owns Mary Kay. Like, that's the vibe.
Yes. We cut to the cafeteria the next day. Wild editing. Because they walk into a restaurant and then we see them walking into the cafeteria. So it looks like they're in that restaurant, but it is the school cafeteria.
Right?
It's just a bonkers editing choice.
Yeah.
But they kind of bump her into Michael. And this is Michael's internal monologue solo. And it's basically just about him being super lonely, but loving Stephanie. And he's like drawing hearts and notebooks. And it goes on for like 3.5 minutes. It's one of the longest songs in the movie. And it is interminable.
It does eventually cut to him singing it, but not till like the very end.
Yeah.
And it's like a wild 3 minutes of him walking around a cafeteria and then sitting down to eat. And you're like, sure, the song, the reason it's not great is because it is telling some story or whatever, but like, it's not great and it's 4 minutes. So
yeah, it's forever. But we cut to the night of the talent show because we have fast forwarded to the end of the year when they're graduating in the talent show and everything. So he shows up in front of the talent show and who should also show up but the T-Birds. And they're like, it's time we get him, which I'm like, why? He helped get rid of the other guys for you. Like, I don't know why you have beef with him other than Stephanie.
Right.
But they basically embark on a wild motorcycle chase. The girls hop in the car. They follow him. But they end up at what looks to be a cliff. And the implication is he jumps it and makes the jump because they don't see him at the bottom, but they didn't see him land. So who knows what happens? And Stephanie thinks he's dead.
yeah, she goes into shock because a man she kissed once took dead man's curve wrong.
Right. They've only spent like 2 days together, max.
I know. And she literally sang a song about how he could fly. And in this moment is like, guys, I was lying about that.
I was wrong.
I also thought it was super rude for her to show up in this moment driving a car that had suicide doors on it. I was like, wow, rude.
Oh, the worst. But we then cut back to the talent show because they're just like, hey, I know what you did last summer, but we're just going to go back to the talent show and pretend like we didn't all watch a man die. And so the talent show begins and it is madness. We see like 4 different acts in the talent show, including one guy who ends up holding the principal's leg, the people with the accordion. We see the T-Birds essentially tie up the prep tones in the shower and steal their jackets.
And turn the showers on and like, they're like 60s hooligans, you know the type.
Of course. And then they perform The Prep Tones Don't Get You, and they're pissed. Then we cut to the girls, the calendar girls, and we get a full 3.5 minute song about all the different seasons. And I love every fucking second of it. What's your favorite costume in this section?
Oh shit, my favorite costume?
Yes.
I think the Christmas tree dress is the best.
The Christmas tree dress is the best, but right behind the Christmas tree on the left, or I guess her right, you're the viewer, left hand of the screen, is for February, like President's Day, and it's a giant quarter. And the face of the quarter is the dancer's body. And she's just like doing belly rolls to make it look like the face moves.
So my actual answer is the lady who is the martini glass with the fake legs hanging out of it.
Yes.
That is a Halloween costume I would, with no context, love. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It was so funny.
Yeah. I do love the Halloween tree. But I feel the same way about this that I feel about Springtime for Hitler in The Producers, where
Yes.
there's that one lady that has the pretzels and the sausage, and I'm just like, oh, great. But they finish their song. But Stephanie don't sing none of it. She just kind of sits down and holds her light up star, and everyone's like, Stephanie, are you okay? And then she launches that star into motorcycle heaven and sings half of a duet.
Paige, she doesn't launch it anywhere. It's so poetic. The star, it gets clutched from her hands. Like she almost had it. And then fate, maybe, stole it from her. I audibly gasped. I was like, oh. And then they go to motorcycle heaven that is just littered with only motorcycle wrecks.
Right.
And then a very darkly clad and shot Michael is singing this other
Yes.
side of the duet that I will have you remember, she is actually singing. So everyone there can only hear her side of it.
Right.
I will remind you, she wins for half of this song.
She wins.
But like,
She's about to win. Yeah.
can you imagine what it would be like to hear one side of an a cappella duet? It would be a lot like this. La la la. Because you wouldn't hear the other side of it.
Right.
It would be insane. And she wins.
Right. We cut back to her and she's singing a cappella, and she seems to be singing a completely different song because it like starts out as the duet and then it fades into a completely different song.
Yeah.
And she's just singing on stage and then stops and everyone's like, woo! And you're like, what happened in real life? But they name a king and queen. So she is the queen, Johnny's the king. So they have to split the long playing albumins and they give them all the choppins. But we cut to the luau. Mass cultural appropriation. It's like somebody took one look at the tiki room at Disneyland and was like, I've got it. And then did this luau. Lots of dancing. Everyone else is dancing around them. Stephanie is in a grass skirt and a sweatshirt, and then later is in a wonderful shiny metallic dress that I fucking love. But that's later. And it's very 70s. It's not 60s at all. Like they have kind of abandoned the 60s at this point in the movie.
And this movie was firmly filmed in like 81 or 82. Like
100.
Yeah.
But who should show up? Balmuto and the other bikers. And then who should show up on top of one of the buildings and then jump down onto a bike where I assume he just like busted his Keatons.
Ooh.
It's Cool Rider, aka Michael. And again, they just ride in circles because that's all they could do.
Yeah.
And then the other bikers are like, bye, whatever. And he like jumps the pool. So she's like, he did make the jump. And then he lands and he takes the goggles and the helmet off. And she's like, oh my God, what? It's Michael. And she immediately runs over there like, hello, hi, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
And Johnny is like, what the fuck? And she's just like, I mean, come on. And so they give him a T-Bird jacket, which does look amazing on him. And then they make out, but his eyes are open.
Paige.
It's weird.
It is weird. I would never look into someone's closed eyes passionately while I kiss them.
That's wild.
It is weird.
It's a wild choice. But then they sing the last song of the movie because they couldn't think of a song as good as We Go Together from the original movie. So this song is just We'll Be Together, which sounds more like Vitamin C's Graduation. And they sing it at the luau and then to graduation and then in the jump photos for the yearbook.
And that's the movie.
movie.
So, Paige, having seen this movie and having talked about this movie, what did you think about Grease 2?
Oof. Again, bad but fun. I'll definitely watch it again. I take great joy from its batshittery.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a good time when I watch it.
I kind of love it. I'll definitely watch it again. I definitely understand why people were like, it's not a good movie. Because if you're like a casual music fan and you like Grease because Grease is a great musical, I get why you wouldn't love this one because it's not a great musical. But it is fun, and I just love musicals. So I literally wrote down in the first opening song, when they're like, everyone starts dancing, like all 75 dancers are like dancing around. I was like, I hate how much I love this.
Right?
And so
Right?
like, I'm into it. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I love it. If you're not that big of a musical nerd, you probably won't like this movie.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But Paige, do you have any fun facts?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts. Grease 2, fun facts.
Okay. In Do It For Our Country, in the movie, it's a duet. However, the actors who played Sharon, Maureen Teefy, couldn't make it to the recording session. So Peter Frechette, who plays Louis, aka DiMucci, had to sing the entire song himself, which is why her vocals are not on the movie's soundtrack, and she was just dubbed in later in post. But they had already basically made the soundtrack by the time they were dubbing her in. So I do have the soundtrack. I can confirm it is only his voice, but
Wow. Okay.
So Lorna Luft, who played Paulette, was very disappointed that Paramount Studios wouldn't let the Pink Ladies keep their jackets. Now, this is actually something that happened with Grease 1 as well. And in 2019, when she was playing a Christmas concert in Durham, North Carolina, a fan gifted her with her Pink Lady jacket because she had purchased it at a
What?
studio auction. Now, this is actually not the first time this has happened. The same thing happened to Olivia Newton-John before she passed, is that fans of both original Grease and this have been really great about buying the costumes at studio auctions and then gifting them back to the people who originally wore them.
That's so sweet. Like, I love that.
It's really sweet. It's a great fun fact. If you get the chance to do that for people, do that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's a lot more common now for people to keep a piece of something, especially if they're not going to reuse it.
Yeah.
But at the time, they were not. And so she didn't get her jacket back until 2019.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's such a sweet fan, though. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, no joke, I'd cry. Like, if I was her and that happened to me, I would cry.
There's video of the fan gifting Olivia Newton-John hers, and she sobs. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is making me cry.
Probably more for Olivia Newton-John just because it was such a, like, it was a catapult to stardom for her.
Yes.
And this movie didn't do as well, obviously, but Michelle Pfeiffer still became a star. Like, you know, like,
Right, yeah.
But man, yeah, I would have lost it.
Now, according to the stunt double for Maxwell Caulfield's motorcycle stunts, a man named Gary Davis, Michelle Pfeiffer performed her own motorcycle stunts.
Really?
During that ride. So she sat behind, and then he lifted her around to where she straddled on the front and did the wheelie. And he said that she was wonderful the entire time, but she
Wow.
did do those stunts.
That's awesome.
Yep. Okay. Andy Gibb also auditioned for the role of Michael and didn't.
From the Bee Gees.
Yes, and
What?
apparently his screen test was really bad. Cher had also signed on to play Paulette,
What?
but pulled out because they offered her such a low salary and there was not a finished script at the time.
Mistake. We could have had a Cher in this movie.
We could have also had Jennifer Beals, who had signed on to play Sharon, but dropped out to play the lead character in Flashdance, which absolutely the right choice, Jennifer Beals, like 100%.
You know what? I've seen Grease 2, never seen Flashdance, so maybe it wasn't the right choice.
Oh, Flashdance is wild. We should, it's not,
Is it a rom-com page? Should we do it next?
not really, but we've talked
Fair.
about doing a dance month at some point, and maybe, who knows?
We could do that and Fame, which is another movie I haven't seen either.
Fame's not really a romance either. When I was thinking of dance, I was thinking Save the Last Dance, Center Stage, and Step Up, and then I needed to find like a fourth. But
Those sound great.
anyway, the original plans was for this to be the second in a series of 4 movies and a TV show.
What?
Right. That never happened because this did badly.
Yeah.
Now, Disney bought the script for the 3rd movie
Okay.
and adapted it, and it became High School Musical.
No.
Yes. Michelle Pfeiffer and Maxwell Caulfield allegedly did not get along during filming. And a few years after, he said that they got along famously and she was really nice. And then in another interview, she was like, nah, he was kind of self-adoring is what she said. So she thought he was self-centered.
Yeah.
But
he's like, I can do a British accent. So he thought he was all that and a bag of potato chips, but he wasn't.
well, he is British. So like,
I know. It's wild to me that his British accent sounded like someone badly doing a British accent, though.
doing a British accent.
Yeah.
I think that's just how he talks. Now, the choreography in this movie is great.
Yeah.
Now, part of that is because Patricia Birch, who directed this movie, was the original choreographer for Grease, the stage play, but also the first movie, Grease 1 in 1978. And so she, according to her and publicity at the time, said that this was the first time a female choreographer became a film director. It has happened multiple times since then, but this is her directorial debut and unfortunately her only theatrical film directing credit. But holy shit, can she choreograph a dance scene for sure.
I mean, yeah, she's great at it.
This film damaged Maxwell Caulfield's career pretty severely at the time.
Really?
Yes. He was supposed to be the next it guy. And that is a thing. There's like articles at the time where he's like, I was being hailed as the next Richard Gere or John Travolta. And that is true. But when Grease 2 flopped, he couldn't get booked for almost anything until 10 years later.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Now, this is a theatrical feature film debut for Lorna Luft, who played Paulette. She is Judy Garland's daughter
What?
and Liza Minnelli's half-sister. Yes, which is also why in this movie, anytime they need someone to hit like a crazy, awesome note on the lady side, she's the one singing, not Michelle Pfeiffer. Like Michelle Pfeiffer has her solos or whatever, but every once in a while they'll cut to like, he can really fly, and it's Paulette, and it's because she can fucking wail because she's Judy Garland's daughter.
Love it. That's awesome.
Yes. She had to bleach her hair platinum for the role of Paulette. She's naturally more of a brunette, but her hair broke off after the bleaching, leaving her with about 1 inch of hair. And so she filmed almost all of her scenes wearing a wig-ass wig.
Okay.
And she's wearing a crazy wig the entire time. Now, Michelle Pfeiffer was not the first choice for the role of Stephanie. Any guesses?
No.
Okay. Debbie Harry
Okay.
was the original choice, which would have been wild because she would have, obviously, she can sing and any number of things. So,
Sure.
Okay. Andrew Garfield lists this as his third favorite movie musical.
I love you, Andrew Garfield. That's amazing.
I do too.
Also, I love his musical.
Oh, yeah, Tick, Tick, Boom. Well, it was in
Yes.
an interview for Tick, Tick, Boom that he said that. Now, we talked a little bit about, potentially Tom Cruise and Andy Gibb, but Maxwell Caulfield also beat out Sean Cassidy, Andy Gibb, and Rick Springfield of Jesse's Girl fame to get this role, even though it ended up, ruining his career. And I'll end on this fun fact.
Okay.
Here's a list of people who reprised their roles from the original Grease in this. So we have Dee Dee Conn as Frenchie, Eve Arden as Principal McGee, Dodie Goodman as Blanche Hodel, the principal's assistant, Sid Caesar as Coach Calhoun, who they don't give him a lot of screen time in this one, but Sid Caesar is hilarious in the original.
Yeah.
Eddie Deason as Eugene Felnick, who... Not sure why he's still in school because he was in the same class as Danny.
He failed 2 years, Paige.
He failed
back
2
to
years.
back. Yeah. He's a 6-year senior.
Yeah. Dick Patterson, who played Mr. Rudy in the original, plays Mr. Spears in this. And Dennis Stewart, who played the Scorpions member Leo in the original, plays Balmudo in this movie. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Before I move on to box office, can I share a weird connection that I have to the Grease cinematic universe?
Absolutely. I'm here for it.
All right. So, one of the lead actresses in Grease: Rise of the Pink Ladies is a lady named Marissa Davila.
That's the more recent Rise of the Pink Ladies one, right? It's like current TV show?
Yes. It didn't do great, unfortunately.
No.
As far as like ratings are concerned, I have not seen it, so I don't know of its quality. But her name is Marissa Davila. She is the daughter of my high school drum instructor. She was a little girl when I was in high school playing drums. So I know them and I know her mom very well.
Wild.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's great.
Yeah. And honestly, they're awesome people. Julie Davila and her husband both are world famous drum instructors in the Percussion Hall of Fame. Like, they're awesome. Anyway, so Paige, let's get into box office. What do you think the production budget was for Grease 2 in 1982 when it premiered?
Ooh, I think they were scrimping and saving and trying to get as much money as possible, and they did not have a lot of money to do this. I'm going to say this was $25 million, which sounds like a ton for the time, but is not a lot to make a musical.
So you're a little bit over it. It was $11.2 million.
Oof.
But Paige.
Even harder.
Yeah. If you adjust for inflation, and again, this is 1982, not 1961, where we've been adjusting from the whole movie, but that's still $36.6 million. It's not nothing.
Right.
Okay, so this movie came out the weekend of July 11th, 1982, and it was fifth the week it came out. I think Grease 2 isn't a great movie.
Sure.
But it also came out against a murderer's row of movies. Number one that week. It premiered the same week as a movie you may have heard of called E.T., the Extraterrestrial.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Number two was Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Oh, fuck yes.
Guys, this is so nuts. Number three is Rocky III. So that means, Paige, the first movie that was number one that week, it was the first movie in the series. Number two, it was Star Trek II, making it the second movie in the series. And the third movie in the box office that week was Rocky III, and it's the third movie in the series. Anyway, life is fun sometimes. Number four was a movie no one's heard of called fucking Poltergeist. Guys, it was up against some heavy hitters is all I'm saying. And it was fifth.
Yes.
Number six was a movie I truly haven't heard of called Hanky Panky, but number seven was Porky's. Number eight was The Sword and the Sorcerer, and Conan the Barbarian was in theaters. Like, there's a lot of great movies in theaters at this time. Anyway, Paige, what do you think it made in its opening weekend, the weekend of June 11th, 1982?
I'm going to say it made $6 million.
Paige, that's a little bit too much. It was $4.6 million, so 4.6. Although if you adjust for inflation, you're closer. I mean, that would have been $15.1 million today, but it didn't do great at the time. It was in theaters for, honestly, this is going to sound long for today's standards, but it's very short for back then. It was only in theaters for 7 weeks.
Oh, that's super short. That's long now, but
yeah,
back in the day, they used to keep things in theaters for whole years.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second. So it was only in theaters from June 11th to July 23rd. It was never again in the top 5. It was in the top 10. It was actually 8th its second week, but then fell to 14th and stayed there until it was 20th and 24th and then out of the theaters. So, Paige, what do you think it made? And I'm just going to say worldwide in the box office because it didn't get an international release when it came out in 1982.
Oof, my goof. I'm going to say it probably only makes about 16 million.
So, Paige, that's actually a little bit high. It was $14.2 million. And again, it's on an $11.2 million budget, but that budget doesn't include marketing and stuff like that. So they probably lost money initially on the movie.
Well, and with the expectations of what they thought this movie would do.
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Grease did significantly better. I don't know if you guys care or want me to go into it, but Grease made, wait for it, $394 million worldwide.
On like a $6 million budget, probably.
It was legit $6 million. You're absolutely right about that. It made $188 million domestically. It's crazy. Paige, that means that this movie that also premiered the same week as E.T. the Extraterrestrial was only in theaters for 7 weeks. The Extraterrestrial was in theaters for a combined consecutive total of 81 weeks. That is over a year and a half.
Yeah.
So like, that's what I mean when I say like 7 weeks is painfully short for a movie in the 80s.
Yes.
But that's your box office. Paige, do you want to hit us with that romance scale?
Ooh, our romance scale is a scale of 1 to 4 because Mikey said so. Todd.
Oh man, I want to give it way higher than this, but they don't really have a lot of chemistry. I'm going to give it a 1. But They do kiss, but he's wearing a helmet like 90% of the time he's kissing her. So like it's not hot or anything. No, it's a 1 for me, dog.
I'm going to give it a 2 because I do find the motorcycle scenes and the kiss hot. No roars though, just the 2 on the romance scale.
It's a rev scale when they like rev the engine.
Scale.
There we go. Also, it's a 1 for me on the rev scale because it's not sexy at all. Again, when they're riding the motorcycles, he's wearing a helmet while he's making out with her. So not hot. Anyway, Paige, this week you made us watch Grease 2. What are we going to watch next week?
I teased this a little bit earlier in this episode because there's a whole genre of rom-coms that we have not touched, and those are dance rom-coms. So we're going to start out with the first movie in a Romancing the Pod favorites career. It is Channing Tatum's first film. It's Step Up.
Well, okay, so oh wow, okay.
Or I guess it might be his second film. It's definitely one of the very, very firsts, like the earlies.
I've never seen Step Up. I do know it is one of Channing Tatum's first, and this is like, I think it's like mid 2000s, right? Maybe early 2000s?
It's 2006. It's 2006. My senior year of high school is when Step Up came out.
So I have a weird connection to Channing Tatum too, because a guy I worked with, he's a good friend of mine. His wife dated Channing Tatum sort of right before he got on this trajectory. They lived in Tampa and like, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I think I've mentioned this before.
I think you have, like way back in the day.
I've never seen this movie, but apparently this is like...
When they broke up?
No, like they broke up probably 2 years before this.
Okay, when he did, because we have done She's the Man, which I do think maybe predates.
I think it does.
This. Yeah, I will say they haven't discovered that Channing Tatum is hilarious yet, and so he doesn't get to be as fun as normal in this movie, but...
The reason I brought it up was because this person, my friend's wife, I've heard her say, while maybe a little intoxicated, I can't watch Step Up because he looks too much like he looked when we dated.
Oh, damn. Okay, I have questions for her, to be honest.
That's how I knew it was early on.
Yeah.
Babe, cut this.
Does he have a giant dick?
Yeah, so your homework for next week is to watch Step Up and see why my friend's wife just can't watch this movie because he looks so similar to how he looked when they dated. Honestly, she said it before I knew that she had dated him. So I thought it was just like a crazy thing my friend's wife said. And I was like, hang on. I like stopped a conversation. I was like, man, hang on.
Yeah. I need to know everything.
She showed me pictures. Like, anyway.
Does he have a giant dick?
Not scandalous pictures page, but like proof that they dated. Because I was like, no, you didn't.
No, for sure. Like pictures of them together, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's your homework for next week.
All right. And do you have any reviews for us, Todd?
I do. This week, I'm going to read some Spotify comment off our most recent No Hard Feelings episode that legit just came out this morning. And this one's going to come in from Charlotte. And they say, we have a Cracker Barrel in Bakersfield because we were talking about Waffle Houses and Cracker Barrels not being in California.
Yeah, that's like the only one, basically.
Yeah, it sounds to me like Charlotte thinks you're not missing out on much because it goes on to say, it's not good. Love the show, though.
I like Cracker Barrel. I love the little store. I like the potato casserole.
I like the hash brown casserole, and I like the kazoos. Outside of that, I'm out. But
yeah, thank
you, Charlotte, for your comment. And if you want to have me read your comment or 5-star review, leave us a 5-star review on Apple. And I'll do just that. So yeah, if you guys like this show and want to hear our other show where we talk about horror movies, that is The Horror Virgin. That's the only other podcast I am on, but Paige is also on Cult Podcast, which you can find at Cult Podcast. And you can find us on social media. I am at Todd J. Awesome, literally everywhere. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Instagram.
No, it's at Rampage Wesley on Instagram and TikTok, at Paige Wesley on Twitter.
That's right. All right. So that's where you can find Paige. If you want to find the show, we are at Romancing the Pod Show, right?
Yep. Romancing Pod Show on Twitter.
Well, and Instagram, right?
And Instagram, but it's show SHO because character limits. If you start typing Romancing the Pod, it'll come up.
It'll definitely come up on Instagram. I don't know about Twitter because I haven't posted on Twitter in a hot ass minute. So who knows? But that is where you can find more of us. So yeah, guys, give us a follow. Support the show any way you can. We'd love it.
Smash that like button.
Hell yeah.
And that's going to be for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us to completion.
Bye.
Bye.
We lost Paige's audio during the recording, nerds.
La, la.